free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below. Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to some Russian MiG-15 bits. Now, a quick disclaimer, this is a stream highlight. This is the last match I played on my live stream a couple of weeks ago. I am slightly intoxicated during this playthrough. I am playing in front of probably I think 300 to 400 viewers, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And the reason I say this is because this is not how you should fly the MiG-15 unless you really want to suicide. This is anything but it. If I have to title this video, I'll say don't try this at home. It's not how the MiG-15 should be flown. Good, now that we got that out of the way, a quick apology, because the last time I made a video on the MiG-15 bis was back in September. It was on the German one, and it was more or less a rant, and it was me saying how German MiG-15 is the leading issue in top-tier matchmaker. Now, I still think it is, or at least it was. I have no clue how the matchmaker has changed, but for a duration of a good year, the German MiG-15 bis was the most easiest to access top-tier jet, period. Because players would go from, flying the HE-162 at 6.7 with MG-151 straight to 9.0 flying the German MiG-15 with the Russian 37, which requires a tremendous amount of practice to get the lead in. Now, what I said at the time was that because the RP had been reduced, now to understand this, during the summer of 2016, Gaijin reduced the amount of RP required to get jets by 50%. If they did that for tanks, I wouldn't have minded, but still, I think planes with premium aircraft and some premium time, you can research anything in a week. It's that simple. But the argument I used instead was that an increase of RP would have been a better selection. Whilst it would have made grinding slower, it would have enabled people to spend more time in jet combat, if they so chose, to actually progress their tech tree. Now, I do think that it was a very biased, very one-sided, polarized opinion. I do think that subjectively it probably should have been left out of the video, or at least taken a better look at. Something that happens when you rush videos and try to push them out there. So, I do apologize for that content, but I do still think that the HE-162, if you play it for long enough, as horrible as it might be, it will, ironically enough, teach you quite a few things that the MiG-15 and the HE-162 have in common. Both the guns require a reasonable amount of lead, both aircraft are preferred as jets to keep their speed at, medium to high. And at the end of the day, if you spend long enough playing the HE-162, you will have learned some of the basics of maintaining altitude, energy states, and preserving ammunition, which both come into play. So whilst I do agree that, forcing someone to play 300 matches in the HE-162 is not the ideal way to teach them how to finally fly the MiG-15, but it might make them slightly more comfortable when it finally comes to unlocking the aircraft that we're flying here, which, by the way, is nothing short of a beast. I love it. I still think the MiG-15 is more fun, or at least more entertaining than the MiG-17, and I like flying it out severely more. First kill of the way is actually coming by here. We got a Hunter going down from a upward loop. Pretty nice profile shot, and probably the easiest one of this match. And the reason for it is that because this is a stream game, it's happening live, anyone can join the same match. Now, when you're joining the same match, it doesn't mean you're going to be on the same team, so there are going to be people who want to pile up and try to get the streamer. However, it works both ways. You see, it's stressful for me sometimes, because you know that everybody sees you, you know that it's happening live, you're there, people depend on you, but the enemy that's trying to shoot you down is also being judged by the exact same viewers that are watching, so the pressure technically is on both players. And yet the pressure here was in the performance of a MiG-15 bis at low altitude, having not one, not two, but three Hawker Hunters on its tail. And using nothing here but simple aileron rolls, elevator input, and a slight rudder wiggle, we were able to, I don't know how, but survive, or at least endure for long enough for my teammates to arrive to the area, the attack of both the Hunters and the third one that was then swooping down from below. And in the process, one of the Hunters managed to scrape its engine, or at least damage the wing, providing me with an extremely easy frag. This is where the match takes a turn for the worse, not for us, but for the enemy team. You see, stream sniping works both ways. It works in the way that you see the streamer, you join the enemy team, and you try to shoot them down. It also works in the process of you join the streamer's team, and you then try to shoot the people that are trying to shoot the streamer down. I know, it's a stream snipingception, and it works wonders when executed correctly. And for a long time, I used this as a solo excuse to not play Jet, and I still think there are certain disadvantages. Playing aircraft on stream with joining progress being there as a functionality, anyone who really wants to will be able to join the same match you're playing and go after you. But it introduces or induces a bit of a challenge, and sometimes I like to take that challenge on. And so when it comes to my streams, those of you who do watch them every Tuesday, Thursday or Saturday at 7 to 10, I do like to play an occasional jet match, but if I do it, and if I do it in jets, it's usually because I've had a little bit too much to drink. Main reason is that it's still challenging and physically exhausting. To play a match like this was, over a duration of 3 hours, is something that I personally can't do. But playing a couple of these matches every couple of streams is definitely something I will start doing more often, because if not for else, it makes for a great gameplay experience, and it makes for fantastic footage to look back at. And there's a damn good reason why I like the aggressive playstyle. It doesn't just make for great footage, it makes for a great challenging experience. Now obviously, often you'll see me in matches, and I've read comments about this where they say, somebody's met me in a match and I died after the first engagement. It happens. The aggressive playstyle comes with certain costs, and one of the main costs is that the very first mistake you make is often the last mistake you'll make, because that means you're out of the match. However, the matches you perform well in, and the matches where your team reacts to your actions as, I'm not going to say baiting the entire enemy team low, because I'm going to make a meme again, but maybe the expression pulling the strings of a match will be easier to understand. A player who applies this aggressive yet defensive, challenging, kind of, I'm going to call it a suicide tactic, they could end up on the bottom of the team, having killed no one, and yet have won their team at the point where no kills had been made at all. Because many matches are lost, not so much because the enemy team runs out of players or because the tickets get drained. I think the matches get lost. There's a particular point, it's like a turning point in the game, where the enemy team just kind of loses the stamina, the confidence, the, faith to really continue going on thinking we can still win this match. And I'm sure you've been in matches where you looked at the enemy team and you looked at your team and you thought to yourself, we're dead. There's just nothing we can do. And even though that, I do still think that never giving up is definitely the way to go around it, even if you're alone against the entire enemy team, sometimes the numerical advantage can play in your favor. And I'll remind you back here, the turning point in this match was, if you ask me, 3 hunters engaging 1 player. And the cause of that is there's at least 2 players on our team that were not being engaged by anyone. Now, I'm horrible at maths, but this is a basic numeric fact. Both teams have an equal amount of players, in most cases, which means that every player usually has an assigned target, and you could call that a 1 versus 1. When 3 players engage 1 person, that 1 person is at a disadvantage, yet his team is technically at an advantage, because that means that whilst there were 3 hunters chasing me at low altitude, my team had 2 people that had time to do or engage anyone that they wanted. Now, had the hunter succeeded killing me, they would have reduced the numbers of our team even further, and it probably would have resulted in our team probably losing. But what I managed to do, and I only see this now, and this is why, I like doing post-commentary, looking at matches after they've already occurred, is because there's so many aspects that you can observe, especially from tactics perspective. I managed to buy myself and my teammates time to take the tactical approach to finalize the match with only, I think, 1 person or 2 people being taken out. We managed to completely rinse the enemy team, doing nothing more but applying tactics to the tactics already being applied. Now, if you're expecting me to tell you that this match was carried by me because I somehow went into this hero mode and started to bait the enemy team low, no. This match was won because the team managed to read what was happening. You see, if you go into a matchmaker at top tier, you won't always find me going in and baiting 3 hunters low. As a matter of fact, you might find me there trying to bait 3 hunters low and failing. And that happens, you will have to adopt tactics. Every single match is slightly different. It has different players, it has different aircraft at different upgraded values, which means that if you can adapt your tactics to the tactics that your teammates are applying, and this is, you don't need anything, no kind of communication, you only need to watch and observe what's going on. You can carry a match with losing very little players by doing nothing more but the childish action of observing. And this match was a blast to play, probably because I was slightly hammered, because it was happening on stream, because, you know, every moment for the 2.5 hours of streaming led up to this point, you've got 300-400 viewers wooing in chat, you know. The atmosphere alone makes it worth playing aircraft like this on the heat of the battle in the livestream. As for meeting the aircraft in actual matchmaker, as for flying it, this is definitely not a guide for it. For me to make a guide, I have to sit down with the plane, play a couple of dozen matches, see how the matchmaker performs, see how the overall plane performance falls out, and see how I can react to the matchmaker when my team isn't something that I can fully rely on. And when it comes to team reliance, a good friend of mine once said, the best thing you can rely on is yourself. You can only impact the game's performance as much as you can impact yourself. And I think that the person who has to be assisted the most in a match is the weakest link that shows potential of a positive outcome. That last match, that was me. Because I put myself into an extremely disadvantageous position, I put myself into a very foolish position, and yet with the help of some basic defensive flying, a little bit of luck, and a good reactive team, we managed to pull it out with only losing 2 players. And that in a top tier matchmaker is fantastic. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Now, I would love to do more videos with tactics as such in mind. They're very easy for me to make, and I love rambling on for a bit, but if you want to see more in-depth plane reviews, you might have to hold off for a bit. In the current stream of this week, we're going to be focusing on Japanese top-tier tanks, researching those, and then going through the grind process for about 2.5 weeks. Hopefully in a month's time, we'll be able to fly more planes out and do maybe a couple of reviews. Anyway guys, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.